All right. Okay, so first of all, let me get to where we are going through things today. All right, First Corinthians 13. Okay. Though I speak with tongues of men and of angels and have not charity, which we talked about yesterday, I am starting from, just so you guys know, we went over 1 Corinthians 13, like 1 through 3 or 4, but I really feel called to do 1 Corinthians 13, starting from the first verse. Okay. So, though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, and I have not charity, charity being love, but let's look at, you know what? Let's just look at what that means. Love, that is affection or benevolence. Specifically, a love fest, charity, dear love. But let's look at what because sometimes something describes something based on the fact that they're, like in the original Bible, there's like lots of words that mean love, but then we put love in, but there's like friendship love and sexual love and all the things, right? So this particular word charity says the origin of it is love. However, there is but the origin of that is this. So let's see what that says. It says, perhaps, again, compared to love, social or moral, but it's to compare. And then it gives another definition, which is to be a friend, to be, that is, to have affection, attachment as a matter of segment, oh, no, sentiment or feeling, embracing, especially the judgment and deliberate assessment of the will as a matter of principle, duty, uh, chiefly of the heart. Um, yeah, and then it says kiss. So this is part of why sometimes it's a little bit difficult to just take the Bible at its word because it's been translated the best it can, right? So charity, though, for the sake of our conversation, is love. But remember, love in its nature is unconditional and conditional because it is the only absolute. And the absolute has to contain everything, which means it has to be unconditional and conditional. Okay, what does that look like? I can love you and I could love my spouse and I could love my child all the same. But conditionally, I only have sex with my spouse, right? So I love conditionally by knowing what are the behaviors that dictate proper relationship with particular people. Yeah. But my love for you, my affection for you, my caring about you can be all the same. Okay. So though I speak with tongues, hi, hold on, guys. My niece is here to pick up. Okay, now you gotta open it really quick because I gotta see what it is that you didn't get for a whole year. I was supposed to give her this gift a year ago, and I didn't give it to her. That is so cool.
It's like
Come here and show us what you got.
It's like
And now you can go, yeah. You know what? You should probably actually tell her that I just now gave it to you so that you can call her and thank her and say, oh my gosh, Yaya, I love it.
Cool.
Yeah, because now she's probably like, Stephanie's a douche.
It's
When
like
in reality,
cool
Lori was a douche.
elephant guy, and he just hangs, and it's so cute.
That's so cute. And it's got a little bell.
Yeah.
That's so cute.
Oh, I love it.
That's so cute.
Oh, I can't believe you had this for a year. Crazy.
Dude, I know. Definitely call Yaya and tell her I'm a douche.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm so glad you came to get it though.
Me too.
I love you. I love you so much. Okay, bye. All right. So, though I speak with tongues of men and of angels and have not charity, love, the absolute, I become a sounding brass or a tinking cymbal, clashing cymbal, some virgins call it. Okay, and though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all the mysteries of all knowledge, and though I have all of the faith so that I could remove mountains and have not charity, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned and have not charity, it profiteth, I couldn't say this yesterday, profiteth me nothing. So guys, basically here's the point. It doesn't matter how consciously aware you are. It doesn't matter how aware you are. You could be completely unaware and love. You could be completely aware and love. You could be unaware and be a douche. You could be completely aware and be a douche. You could know all of the 33 degrees of the Masons. You could manifest $1 million overnight. You could be an influencer with 1 million subscribers. You could answer every question that anybody ever has to ask, and you could still be a douche. And you could know none of those things. Excuse me. You could never answer a question. You could never have like any understanding of the cosmos or religion or philosophy, excuse me, and still love. That's the whole point. It's not about any of that. It's just about love. It is the be all, end all. Well, how do we know? It's undescribable and undeniable, right? So how do we know if we're in love? Well, you can't cognitively know, but it's experiential and it's undeniable, which means you will sense it. You will, I want to say know it, but we attribute knowing to the cognitive, right? But the knowing is the body. The know, like I know that I'm me, right? I know that I'm me because here I am. What does that mean? I don't know, but I know I'm me because here I am, right? So, verse 4. Charity suffers long and is kind. Charity envieth not. Charity vaunteth not itself, is not puffed up. Right? So we're going to break this down a little bit. And again, guys, we did this yesterday. So I'm going a little briefly or a little bit more briefly than I would have gone had I not done it yesterday. But I feel like we were supposed to reiterate it. But one of the things that we look at suffering long, we look at that as patience. Yes, patience. However, patience is not tolerance. Patience is not enabling. Patience is not sweeping it under the rug. Patience is not complacency. Patience is holding a vision of what's possible for a really, really long time. Right? So it's not, oh, this person has bad behavior and I'll be patient for them to change. Or this person has bad behavior and they say sorry, so I'll just keep showing up. That's not the long suffering that we're talking about in charity, right? It's holding a vision of the way God sees that person. It's holding a vision of the way that love sees that person. Envieth not. This one I think was really cool because what we talked about yesterday about this is that's more about the indicator if you are not in love, right? If you're over here going, man, I wish I had what that person had, or man, why does that person get that and I don't? That's envy. And that's a good indicator that you're not plugged in, right? So, vaunteth, which is like bragging, um, doesn't brag about itself and is not puffed up. One of the things that I really like to talk about with this, just because this was a growth issue for me and a subject for me was, as a entrepreneur, especially a coach who's an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur who's a coach, I have to tell people what I do. I have to tell people that I'm available to be paid. I have to tell people, hey, come and look at my website, come and look at my YouTube channel, come and look at, and it felt that it felt puffed up. It felt like I was drawing attention to myself. Um, guess why, guys? Because I was, which is why it felt creepy. Weird, awkward. But does that mean I never tell people go look at my website or hey, you can hire me or hey, I'm a badass at transformation? And no, I actually do it a whole lot more than I ever did in the past. Why? Because now it's not about me. It's about the message that I have to offer people. It's not about Lori. There's nothing new under the sun. And this information I have is just Jesus. And now I get to share Jesus and I get to draw attention to Jesus and not to Lori because it's not about Lori. It's about Jesus. So that's where the difference is. So if you feel like it's creepy, probably because you think it's about you instead of about the message that you have to share. Or here's the other thing, or you came to the planet to draw attention to yourself and you feel really good about it. Then great. Like there is no wrongness. I'm just telling you my experience. It felt creepy because it was about me. Well, as soon as it became not about me, now I don't care how many times I say, oh my gosh, you totally have to go look at my website. Oh my gosh, you should totally come to my class. Because again, it's about the message. It's about transformation for other people. It's about serving, not about getting. Okay. So charity does not behave itself unseemingly, which, well, you know what? Let's just look that up. To be unbecoming, behave self uncomingly, right? Okay, well, what does uncomingly mean? Let's see what it says. prudent, properly, elegant. Well, it's inelegant, right? So I was having a conversation with my brother and I said something about, something being douchey. And he said, maladaptive behavior. I'm like, yeah, maladaptive behavior, douchiness. So, right, it's just saying love doesn't exercise maladaptive behavior. Love isn't douchey. Now, who can know if love is douchey or not? Only me before God. Because I could do something completely in love and somebody else could perceive it as douchey. This is why we mind our own business so that we can mine our own business. When I recognize that I stand before God and God alone, now it doesn't matter if other people think what I'm doing or saying is douchey, because God's the only one who I care if he thinks it's douchey. And I trust that he'll tell me if I'm being douchey, and then I'll stop doing what I'm doing. Right. Or he'll send somebody to go, hey, Lori, that was really douchey. And then I'll go, man, I'm really sorry. Please forgive me. Now, I might say, I'm really sorry. Please forgive me for their sake. Maybe I do it for my sake. And none of that I can ever know because it's not about me. It's about what God's telling me. And I can't ever know. Okay. It doesn't seek its own. Guys, this is exactly what we were talking about yesterday about being needy. If I'm needy, I'm seeking my own. Right? Yes, I came to the planet to contribute to people. So yes, I need people to like be a receiver of what I have to give. Yes, but I'm not needy, which means if nobody ever shows up, I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to keep showing up and saying what God has given me. Right? So I'm not, where was that? Hold on. I'm not seeking my own fulfillment from you. I get it from God because then I become a greater knower of myself as love. Okay. It's not easily provoked. Oh man. Let me just tell you. Well, let's talk about what is easily provoked. That's pretty subjective. But if you're triggered by every post that you read on Facebook, you might recognize you're not functioning in love. If every time you're around certain people, you might recognize that you're not fully in love, at least in that area, right? You might be around these people and never be triggered. Well, in that space, you're functioning from love and we're always growing. So if there's a space over here that triggers the fuck out of you, really good indicator that that's where you're not functioning in love. That doesn't mean you're not functioning in love. It means you're not functioning in love in this area. You might be functioning in love in that area, right? But if we desire to be as fully love as we possibly can, then this is a really cool indicator. And the indicator is an invitation. It's not, oh, this is where you're douchey, right? Is it where you're being douchey? Yeah, but is it where you're douchey? No, because you can't actually be a douche, not in reality. Can you play out? Yes, but not in reality, because in reality, you're love, you're always love, you'll always be love. But your consciousness cannot know that and experience douchey. That was really cool. That was pretty clear. All right. It's not easily provoked. Thinketh no evil. This is an interesting one. Thinketh no evil. I was just having a conversation with somebody today, and I was just kind of telling them, like, how I do life. And I said, well, my presupposition of life is that if the one thing that is self-evident defines itself as the all and good, then that's my presupposition. It's the all and it's good, right? And they were saying, well, I believe that as a free will being, I have the propensity to choose evil, therefore evil exists. And I was like, yeah, cool. Now, a little bit of me is judging because of the person who said it. Sorry about it. But when I read this, it says, thinketh no evil. So how can I be in love if I think something's evil? Now remember, what's evil? Not valuable. It's not bad. It's not valuable. Are there shitty things that happen in our human? Yes. Do I know if it's not valuable? I can't know that because I don't know what that's going to contribute to in the future. And that's none of my business because I don't eat off the tree of the knowledge of good and evil anymore. I just want to eat off the tree of life. Actually, that's a lie. Sometimes I still eat off the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Sometimes I still do. Yet, even in that, it's an indicator for me to exercise my invitation into a greater knowing of me as love. Yeah. So if I think something's evil, I can't be in love. That's what it says right here. Now, if you don't believe in the Bible, then that doesn't really matter to you. But if you believe in the Bible, you can't argue with that. It says that's love. Okay. Rejoice. So love rejoiceth not in iniquity. Guys, if I had to say what my greatest sin was, this would be it. My greatest separation from God in my consciousness, not in reality, in my consciousness, this is it. I am forever waiting for people to disappoint me. Now, way less than I used to be. Way less than I used to be. Now it's just like there's some residue of it, right? But this is one of the things, rejoices not in iniquity, right? So what does that mean and what I'm talking about? Well, in order for me to feel justified, right, in my thinking that people are going to disappoint me, I needed to prove that they were disappointing me, right? And so then I would rejoice in the fact that they disappointed me. Why? Because it made me right. Isn't that so weird? Weird little web we weave. Now, is there a part of me that goes, man, boy, that's douchey? Yes. But if I get stuck in that, I'm not actually focusing on the invitation into living apart from that belief. Right? So I go, oh my gosh, yeah, that's my past pattern. Absolutely, I am patterned for that. And what do I choose to focus on? What do I choose to focus on? I choose to focus on that's not really me. That's the part of me I'm continuing to die to. Yeah. So it doesn't matter what your propensities are, what your propensity to douchiness is. It doesn't even matter because all of that is not you. It's just your human conditioning, which isn't you. Now, does it contribute to who you came to the planet to be? Absolutely, which is the value of it. Right? So we're not wronging the douchiness. We're recognizing it's there, focusing on who we really are, and then stepping into the invitation of that. Yeah. But rejoices in the truth. Right? Love rejoices in the truth. And guess what? If I'm focused on the absolute, then everything is true. If I'm focused on the truth, then everything is good. And if I'm focused on everything is good and everything is the truth, then the only thing I can ever see from it is the value, right? It goes back to what I was talking about the other day. Like, you deserve to be somewhere that you're celebrated, not tolerated, right? And we tolerate, this goes back up to what we were saying about, long suffering, right? Are you tolerating things, or are you actually seeking the value of it? Are you happy when your jacked up paradigm is proven to be true? Like, somebody disappoints you, or look, see, they don't pay attention to me, or see, everybody hates me, or see, I'm not accepted in that group? Or do you rejoice in the truth, which is whatever my paradigm is will always prove itself true. So if I have a paradigm of that, I'll make it true. It's so interesting, you guys, because the more that I embody this, the more obvious that it becomes. Well, in other people. Let me start there. The more obvious it becomes in other people. So easy for me to go, dude, you're totally creating that, right? A little bit harder for me to see in myself. Yet, the more obvious I allow it to be in other people without focusing on the wrongness of me for recognizing it's so easy to recognize it in somebody else, then it really is easier for me to recognize it in myself, right? And then I got to make the adjustment. But it's so interesting to me because I came from a place of so much like thinking I knew what was real, and now recognizing like the making of it, right? Because I just thought it was real out there. But now the more I realize that we make it here, it's so obvious. And I'm like, how did I ever think that that was real? Right? But then I give myself grace and go, well, of course, because that's all I knew. So there's no problem. See how there's never a problem? Like, when we're functioning in love, there's never a problem. Ever. Never. Because now I go, okay, well, what side of the pendulum am I on? Okay, well, what principle on that side of the pendulum is true? All right, let me just focus on that. And then there's no problem because I'm only focused on the absolute, which for us in our verbiage is God. And when I'm always focused on God, now I'm not focused on necessarily the personal aspect of God, because God's personal and impersonal, right? The book says so. I didn't say that. The book said that, just so you know. I don't remember where it is, but I'll find it if anybody wants to ask me about it. But in the book, it says God's impersonal. The law is impersonal. And he's totally personal. The Father, the Holy Spirit, Jesus, all personal. The aspect of the law, not personal. Right? I forgot the point I was making with that. Oh, because when I'm focused on that, there is no problem. Right? Because then I just decide, I go, well, am I looking at this on the personal side or the non-personal side? Where am I jacked up? What's the value of whatever side? Now there's no problem. Yeah. Okay. So love bears all things, believes all things, hopes for all things, endures all things. Do you think love equals all things? I think so. Now, let's look at this. Bears all things. Love bears all things. So if there's something that you are not able to bear, well, you're not focusing on Christ in you, or you're not focusing that Christ has already given you the power to bear it. Either way, It's just an invitation, right? It's just an invitation. There's no wrongness. There's zero wrongness. It's just an invitation, right? So if you're feeling overwhelmed, it's just an invitation to be loved. If you are somebody that calls themselves an empath and you're like, well, I take on other people's energy and it brings me down. Really good indicator you're not functioning in the fullness of you. You're taking it in and you're human apart from being plugged in. Right? I was having a conversation with somebody earlier and she was talking about doing Reiki. And she says, well, when you go into a session, do you protect yourself? And I said, well, not anymore. And she said, well, why not? And I said, because I don't have to anymore. Why? Because I've done this work long enough. What's the work? Reiki, plugged in. I've been doing the work of getting plugged in long enough that now I know that if I'm feeling drained, really good indicator, I stepped out of being plugged in, just plug back in and all of it goes away. If I'm taking on other people's stuff, get plugged in, it makes all of it go away because then it's just me. Right? When I'm plugged in, it's just me and my energy. So if I'm bearing things for other people, it's a good indicator I'm not functioning in love. So I just get plugged in, right? So believes all things. That goes right back to what I was talking about earlier with long suffering. I sit in a space that all things are true, that all things are valuable, that all things are important. Not important. Scratch that one. That all things are love and all things are valuable because important is subjective. Valuable is not. It's objective from the perspective of I can't know. Because if it exists, it has to have value to someone somewhere, somehow. It has to. Otherwise, it wouldn't exist. Because then the self-evidentness of love couldn't exist either. So there has to be value in it. That's in the book too, just so you know. FYI. Hopes all things. Do you know that hope is not like, oh, I really hope this happens? That's not certainty, which means it can't be the absolute. Because in the absolute, I am certain. Is it really? Oh, I was like, is it really 2:44? No, it's only 2:34. Hope is actually the excited anticipation of. I actually, when I talk about Christmas, I actually hope for Christmas. Very different than how we understand it, because we hope in the desire for something, but hope is actual certainty. I know Christmas is coming, so I sit in the anxious anticipation of when it comes. That's hope. Hope is not questionable and endures all things. What does that mean? Well, it means I'm consistent, right? I mean, when I'm in love, I'm consistent, endures all things. So guess what? I can sit somewhere and the something that used to trigger me doesn't trigger me anymore. Why? Well, because I endure in a space that I'm okay regardless of what's going on outside of me. Love never fails. But where there is prophecy, they shall fail. Where there's tongues, they shall cease. Where there is knowledge, it shall vanish away. Cognitive knowledge vanishes away. For we know in part, oh, you know what? I don't want to talk about that yet because that goes into the next several verses. And I think I want to talk a whole lot more than 8 minutes on that. So, love never fails. So if you're experiencing something that's failing, it's because you've made up your mind, either one, what it was supposed to look like that wasn't failing, or two, you have a warped version of what failing means. Right? Love never fails. It can't fail. Why? Because it's the only absolute. If love could fail, then everything truly is pointless. Then just, oh, I was going to say something, which I would totally say in the container. And God's like, yeah, we're not going to say that here, though. I'd say it in the container. So if you ever want to know what that is, join the container. Every once in a while, God does say, hey, Lori, don't make that public. Don't say that out loud. That can be way jacked up. Don't say that one. There's very few things that I feel like God's ever said, don't say that out loud, but that's one of them. So we're not going to talk about that. Okay. But if love could fail, if the thing that is the absolute could fail, if the thing that is self-evident could fail, then everything actually, there'd be no order to anything. Right? The fact that love exists, the fact that love can't fail is the self-evidentness of the order. Now, two people fighting is orderly. Weird, right? People go, Lori, that's not orderly. They're fighting. But if there's two of them, it sure is orderly because one person can't fight if the other person isn't fighting. So it is orderly. They both want to fight. Therefore, they're fighting. Now, I used to say I didn't want to fight. But if I was fighting, I wanted to fight somewhere, even if in my subconscious. Yeah? Love never fails. Everything else will fail. Love can't fail because it's the absolute. It's everything and nothing simultaneously. Simultaneously in the present moment, yet my human consciousness experiences whatever finitely I'm experiencing in this moment. Yeah. Even if you don't cognitively understand what I just said, doesn't matter because love is undeniable. You experience it in your body and it's undeniable. So there's still never a problem. If you're not feeling it, go get plugged in. Lori, what does that look like? Just say, even if I don't feel it, I'm going to choose to be loved. Even if in this moment I don't feel it, because if I can surrender to it, in the next moment I might feel loved. It might take a couple moments. But at some point in time, your human has to make the decision of what is the absolute. What is your foundation that you stand on? All right, you guys. Tomorrow, we talk about we know in part. Because that's going to be super juicy. I'm super excited about that. We're going to talk more about we're 100% human, we're 100% spirit, and what does that look like if I only know in part? All right. Thanks for being here, you guys. I will chat with you soon. I'll see you tomorrow. And I will have the schedule up this afternoon, FYI. I'll do that. In fact, right now, I'll look at my calendar and I'll get the schedule up. Okay, bye.